Women have been conditioned by society to be, act, and think a certain way. Here at Girls IRL, we encourage women to challenge societal norms and embrace their femininity. With that being said, let's get into this week's episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Girls in Real Life podcast. I am your host, Mariah Clayton, and this is a very special episode because it's my birthday. I honestly cannot even believe that the time for my birthday has come around again. Honestly, this past year has just felt like the longest but shortest year of my life because like I said, I can't believe that I'm already like back at this time where I'm celebrating my birthday. And I'm actually recording this the day before my birthday. So my birthday was April 7th, which was actually Good Friday. And fun fact, I was born on Easter Sunday whenever it was my actual like first not my first birthday, but like when I was born out of my mom's vagina. I was born on Easter Sunday, and literally my birthday has never been on Easter ever since. This is the closest that my birthday has been to Easter since I've been born. So I don't know if my birthday will ever be on Easter ever again, but I just thought that was like a little fun fact that I was born on Easter. But anyways, like I said, I'm recording this on the day before my birthday, and it just honestly seems a little weird because it doesn't really feel like my birthday. Like, usually every year around this time, I'm a very reflective person. I take a lot of time to just think about the past year, think about my younger self, think about like all the things that I've accomplished up until this point. And with everything that's been going on in my life, I just have not had the time to sit down and just like reflect and think about what actually has happened this past year, what 26 meant for me, what it did for me, the things that I went through. I just have not had that time to reflect that I usually have. So I guess this episode is going to be just that, like me reflecting on this past year, kind of just talking about things that I've learned throughout this past year, things that I'm going to be taking with me into year 27. Ew, I cannot believe I'm turning 27. I just feel like that's such an ugly age. Well, it's not really an ugly age, but it's like, it's not a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Monumental age, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, it's not anything that's super special, like, oh, 27. So I don't really know how to feel about it. For me, every year my birthday comes around and I turn another year older, I just kind of cringe a little bit because the idea that I'm getting closer and closer to 30 every single day is just like terrifying. So, and I know 30 is not bad and I know 30 is not old, but for me, I'm just like, when I was younger and I thought about 27-year-olds and 30-year-olds, I don't know, they just always kind of had their life together. And I just feel like I am nowhere near having my life together at this point. So it's just weird for me to think about how old I actually am because I really don't feel as old as I am, if that makes sense. Like in my mind, I still feel like I'm 16, 17 years old, but in actuality, I'm a grown ass woman. So, anyways, I don't even know what I'm talking about right now. This episode is really just going to be about me reflecting, like I said, just kind of sharing with you guys things that I've learned. And y'all know how people do the Justin's calling me right now. Hold on.
All right, well, I'll let you love you.
Love you
Bye.
too. Bye. Anyways, so y'all know how people when they turn a certain age, they're like 25 things I've learned since turning 25. Yeah, that we're not doing that. I am not sharing with y'all 27 things that I've learned because one, I can't even name 27 things, and two, we would literally be here for like 3+ hours if I actually had 27 things to say about things that I learned during this past year. So we are not doing that, but I do have a list of things that I wrote down that I want to share with y'all just about things that have kind of shaped the way that I view life now, things that happened in the past year of my life that I've learned, and I'm just going to reflect a little bit with you guys. So bear with me as we go through this list. It's not a lot. There's probably like 12 or 13 things on here, but y'all know I like to ramble. So ain't no telling how long I'm going to be here. But I do just want to say I know that I'm recording this early, but I also want to just say thank you to everybody who sent me birthday wishes on Instagram and any of my social media platforms or anything like that. It's always so appreciated, and I always feel so loved on my birthday by y'all. And yeah. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys. So initially, before I got pregnant and had Ace, I had already had like the theme for my birthday this year. And it was to do a Seven Rings themed, the song by Ariana Grande. For those who don't know, I'm literally a stan and I'm obsessed with her. And I was going to have a Seven Rings themed birthday party for my 27th birthday party, and it was going to be like this huge thing, and I was going to have a party planner and all this kind of stuff. And then yeah, I got pregnant and I my due date, and yeah, just things did not work out that way. So I did not get to have my Seven Rings themed birthday party, but I did have my friend Kennedy make me a Seven Rings themed birthday cake, and I took some pictures of it. I'm sure I posted it on Instagram already and all that stuff, so I'm sure y'all saw it. But yeah, that was kind of like the theme for my birthday this year was 27 rings, kind of, I guess. And I guess in a way I wanted to treat 27 as like my golden birthday, because my golden birthday was literally when I was 7, and I didn't even know what a golden birthday was at that point in time. So I was kind of going to treat 27 like my second golden birthday since I was turning 27. But like I said, that plan just kind of went down the drain once AC got here, which is fine. I probably didn't need to have a big party anyways, but it's just what I wanted to do. And I thought that it would be fun. So, yeah, that's kind of like the theme that was going on this year. I just thought that I wanted to tell you guys that before we jump into all my little birthday reflections. Okay, let's go ahead and get started because, like I said, I really don't know how long I'm going to be here. And I don't want to be here for an hour and a half. I really don't. All right. So, the first thing that I have written down, and honestly, this is something that you probably are not going to want to hear, but it is you are going to be the bad guy in somebody's story. No matter how good of a person we try to be, no matter how nice we are, no matter how friendly we think we are, there's going to come a time in your life where you're going to do something, whether intentionally or unintentionally, that's going to hurt someone and cause them for you to be the villain in their life. Like, that is just the truth of the matter. And I had to learn this the hard way. As y'all know, I've spoken about it pretty freely on the podcast in episodes before about my ex-boyfriend and how I cheated on him and how I felt really bad about that, and honestly like didn't even recognize myself at that point in my life. I was really lost. I was really confused. I didn't really know what I wanted or who I wanted. And it was just really a toxic time period in my life that I look back on now. And I cannot believe that I did the things that I did, that I said the things that I said. You know, there's a lot of things that I regret during that time period in my life. And honestly, just dealing with that and kind of going through the process of forgiving myself and trying to get him to forgive me and trying to make things right and make amends with everything. I just had to realize that, like, no matter how much work I tried to put into fixing that situation, I was always going to be the villain that like cheated on my ex and have this kind of narrative about me. And it took me a long time to come to terms with that, because I do pride myself on being a good person, on being an honest person, and on being a loyal person. And during that time period in my life, I was none of those things. And that was really hard for me. You know, hurting someone that I truly, genuinely cared about and loved, and seeing the way that I just kind of like broke them. It broke me in a way. And I was just like, I could not believe that I did that. There's always going to be this negative narrative out there about you from someone somewhere. You probably know who they are, you probably don't know who they are, but there's going to be someone out there who feels like you did something wrong to them and they're going to hold that against you and view you as a bad person in their story. And there's nothing that you can do about it. Like I said, it's just something that you're going to have to accept, and it's something that you're going to have to work through. And if you did intentionally hurt someone, like how I intentionally hurt my ex, that's something that you're going to have to work through. And for me, that was honestly just like the hardest part, was knowing that I hurt him in such a horrible way that I never thought I would ever hurt anyone in my entire life. And I could not believe that I did that. And I did not recognize myself after that. And so for me, walking through the process of self forgiveness and allowing myself to feel happy again and to be optimistic about finding love again, even though I felt like in moments that I didn't deserve it, I had to walk through that process of self-forgiveness and tell myself I do deserve love. I do deserve to be happy. I do deserve to have good people around me. Even though I did such a really, really bad and horrible thing, that does not mean that I don't deserve to be happy just because I hurt someone else. You know what I'm saying? So that was a long process for me. And it's hard because you want to be viewed as a good person. You want to be viewed as a decent person. And when you do something that is so completely outside of your character and people recognize that, it's hard to come back from. I had to understand that even though that might be how he views me or how his family views me, that's not how I have to view myself. And for me, it was about like transforming and kind of reinventing myself and being strong enough to know that like I don't have to play into this narrative. I don't have to continue to be this bad person that I was. I'm allowed to grow and change and evolve and reinvent myself. So even though it sucks that like you can't fully make amends, especially when you do something like how I did, cheating on someone, that's kind of just like something that not a lot of people can forgive you for, and understandably so. I apologized and I tried to make things right and I tried to end things on as good of a note as possible. And at the end of the day, that's all you can do. You can apologize, you can try to make things right. They can forgive you or they won't. And if they won't, then you have to be okay with the fact that you are now the villain in this person's story. But just because they don't forgive you does not mean that you don't have to forgive yourself. Like I said, you are allowed to move on. You are allowed to work through that. You are allowed to process however you need to process. And you can move on and you can be happy and you can live a happy life, and you deserve to live a happy life no matter what wrong thing you've done. So that was kind of just like the number one thing that I had to realize, was that I'm going to be the villain in someone's story. I'm going to hurt someone in some way. And whether they forgive me or they don't forgive me, it's okay. However they decide to view me in their life, I don't need to concern myself with that. What I need to concern myself with is working through my own shit, forgiving myself, and being able to come out on the other side of it a better person. So that's number one. Number two, since I'm talking about it, this was a little bit lower down on the list, but since I said it, I wrote, every day is a new day to reinvent yourself. So like I said, even though you might have done something like super horrible, or you might just want to become a new version of yourself, like every day is a new day to reinvent yourself. You are allowed to wake up one day and just instantly change your mind about the person that you want to be. And that's in regard to anything. That's in regard to like jobs, relationships, personalities. Like honestly, like you can reinvent yourself in so many different ways, and literally nobody can tell you anything about it. People might like side eye you a little bit and be like, wasn't she just doing this yesterday and not today she doing this? But listen, it's not about them. We don't care about what they say. We don't care about what they think. All that matters is that you are doing things that are making you happy and making you feel more fulfilled in life. And if you wake up one day and say you don't want to be an engineer no more, you want to go be an actress and move to LA, girl, go do it. Like, who's gonna stop you? Nobody's gonna stop you but yourself. So just having that bravery to reinvent yourself and to just kind of become the version of yourself that you always wanted to be. I feel like I reinvented myself in so many ways. I used to be a tomboy who only cared about sports, and now I'm like this super girly girl who is into pageants and fashion and makeup. I was going to graduate school to become a school counselor and realized that, like, oh my gosh, I actually hate this. And now I'm like a full time content creator. Like, I have reinvented myself in so many ways and stepped out of my comfort zone in so many different ways. And it's allowed me to grow into the person that I am today. And it's allowed me to learn so many different things about myself, to being able to adapt, to being able to pivot, being able to figure things out just on my own, even though it's scary to like think about becoming this brand new version of yourself. Sometimes it's just what you need. Like, you have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to stop being so comfortable. And that kind of leads me into my next thing that I wrote down, is that you're never stuck, you're just comfortable. I feel like so many times in my life I felt like I was stuck. Like when I was in graduate school, I felt like I was stuck. When I was in my previous relationship, I felt like I was so stuck. And I was never really stuck. I was just comfortable. I was comfortable with going to school every day and being a student and having that to rely on instead of like going out into the real world and finding a job. I was comfortable in this relationship that I had been in since I was 18 years old and grown up with this person. Basically, I didn't know anything or anyone else really. There were so many times in my life where I felt like I was stuck, but I really was just comfortable in the position that I was in and with the people that I was with. And it forced me to just kind of put myself in a box. And something happened to me when I turned 25, because like a light bulb just went off. I guess my brain fully developed is really what it was. But I realized that I had like just been putting myself in a box, and I had just been so scared to like leave situations, leave people, to step out on faith, to step into what I really wanted to do. And I realized that like I was never going to get anywhere in life unless I stopped being comfortable. So being able to have the confidence to step out of my comfort zone, not knowing what in the world was going to happen, just throwing myself into the world of the unknown. It's scary. It really is. But there's a lot of benefits that come from you being able to step outside of your comfort zone. That's where you grow. That's where you develop. That's where you build all of these life skills that you need in order to be able to be successful in your later years. So, if you feel like you are stuck, you're really not stuck. You're just in a comfortable position and you don't want to give up that comfortability because it's familiar. It's what you know. They have this saying, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. But I'm telling you, like, the devil you know is going to keep you in the same box, in the same place, in the same cycle that you've always been in. But the devil you don't is going to take you somewhere that you probably never even knew was possible. So I say all of that to say, like, don't be afraid to step outside of your comfort zone. And that's one thing that I've learned in my life. And that's one thing that like over the past year of like being 26, I really stepped outside of my comfort zone. Like breaking up with my ex was probably the one major factor in my life that has had just this domino effect on the rest of my life. And it was literally around this time last year that we broke up. It's literally been a year. And for me, my life has never been the same since, you know? I ended up finding the love of my life and being able to go on adventures with him, becoming a mom and having Ace. Like all of that would have never happened if I never like fully stepped out of where I was comfortable. And granted, in the moment, like it was very scary. In the moment, it was a lot of unknown. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy, Justin, who is he? Like, where did he come from? What is going on? Being pregnant, obviously, y'all know, like, I did not want to be pregnant. It was not something that I had planned. It was not in the cards for me. But hindsight is 2020, and being able to look back now at where I was at this time last year to where I am now, my life is like a complete 180, and I honestly wouldn't have it any other way. And it's all because I got out of my safe space and stepped out of my comfort zone and forced myself to become unstuck by the decisions that I made. Which is the next thing on my list, is that you know the decisions you need to make, you're just scared to make them. I knew for a long time that I wanted to break up with my ex. I just was terrified to make that decision because one, I was scared of being the villain in the story. I didn't want people to see me as the cheater who begged for him back and then broke his heart and broke up with him because that's the narrative that was going to be said about me. Two, this relationship was my comfort zone. Like I've said, it was something and someone that I have known for such a long time and kind of grown up with them. And it was hard for me to be able to let go. But for a long time, for like months, I knew the decision that I needed to make and I just didn't want to make it. So a lot of times when we're feeling like we're stuck, we know what we need to do or we know what we want to do. We're just scared of actually stepping out on faith and doing it. And rightfully so. Like the unknown is a scary, scary place. But the unknown is where you learn the most things about yourself because you have to figure it out. Like when you're thrown into the unknown and you have no idea like what's going on, you have no other choice but to figure it out. So yeah, it's scary and yeah, you might not know what's going to happen, but at the end of the day, you know it can't be any worse than like where you are at right now in your life. And if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling scared about making certain decisions, like you're holding yourself back. So pulling the plug and actually making that decision could honestly bring you into a new phase of your life that you've always wanted, that you're so excited about and happy about. But you'll never know unless you just take that jump. And for me, taking that jump, like I said, it was scary and I was depressed and I had a lot to work through and I didn't know what was going on, but you figure it out as you go and you realize like I can live without this person or I can live without this job. I can be successful without X, Y, and Z, you know? Like you learn so much about yourself and learn so much about what you're capable of on your own and becoming just like this independent version of yourself and you figure it out. Life is going to keep going on. Life is going to keep happening around you whether you're staying in your comfort zone or you're throwing yourself into the unknown. Life is still going to keep happening around you. So you can either stay in the same place that you've always been, stay in your little box, in your little bubble, or you can step out into this unknown world and discover new things about not just yourself, but new experiences, new people. It's a big, big world out there, and you should experience it. Okay, the next thing I have written down is understanding who you are is a never ending journey. When I turned 26 last year, I thought that I had such a distinct picture of who I was, what I wanted, and what I was going to do. And nothing was going to stop me. I was so optimistic and determined and just like pushing forward towards the life that I wanted. I was rebranding Girls in Real Life. I was coaching and having the best club season of my career. I was making the most money that I had ever made, booking brand deals left and right, getting ready to move out of my sister's house finally and go and live in my own apartment. Like I was so optimistic about so many things and I was just in a phase of life where I felt like things were finally falling into place. And then I broke up with my ex. And then I met Justin. And then I got pregnant. And then, like all of these things started happening. And I realized in those moments that the more I thought I understood about myself, the more I actually didn't understand. Because with each change that comes in your life, it's going to cause you to learn something new about yourself. It's going to cause you to become a different version of yourself. So you might have a great understanding of who you are in one season of life, and then something happens to where it completely uproots you and takes you by surprise, and now you're having to relearn yourself all over again because of the circumstances that life has just dealt you. So for me, the major thing that I've been having to relearn and re-understand about myself is like this version of me as a mom. Like, who am I? What do I want? It's like I'm a completely different person. It's so crazy like what 1 year can do and how much you can change and how much things around you can change. Because like I said, this time last year, I was so focused on the things that I wanted and knew exactly what I wanted and had this complete understanding of myself. And then there were just things that happened back to back to back to back that caused me to just be like, whoa, what is going on? My world is being shaken up right now. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to handle this. Who am I in these situations? How am I going to handle this? How am I going to navigate this? There were so many different things that pushed me to have to come to terms with a deeper understanding of myself. And yeah, that's just when I realized like you can be so sure and so certain of who you are and what you want in one season of life. But as soon as something happens to where you're now in a different season of life, you have to restart that process all over again. And just when you think you're about to have it figured out, something else happens and you got to do it all over again. And that's just the cycle of life. And I used to be frustrated with it. I used to question it a lot and be like, man, like, I wish that I could go back to this version of myself. I wish that I could be back in this time period of my life. I wish that I could have this mindset again. But the truth of the matter is, like, you're constantly evolving and changing. Your thoughts are never going to stay the same. Your wants are never going to stay the same. Your needs are never going to stay the same. Everything around you is constantly changing and you're changing with it. And you can either accept it and go with the flow and keep progressing through life, or you can fight it and just kind of have these moments where you're frustrated and you're depressed and you're angry because nothing around you is the same as it used to be. And y'all know, for me, I definitely had those moments, especially when I got pregnant, to where I was like, damn, I wish I could go back to this past version of myself. I wish that I wouldn't have made this decision, just kind of like harping on every single thing and like looking back, trying to figure out where you messed up. But that causes you to like literally go crazy. It caused me to go into like such a deep depression because I was literally grieving this past version of myself. I was also grieving a future version of myself that I saw that I now knew that I would never get to fulfill. And so it just causes you to be in this negative mindset and negative headspace and be depressed and sad and unmotivated and unhappy. And I did not want to live my life like that anymore. So I had to decide, like, I'm either going to continue to fight this season of life that I'm in and continue going through these cycles of sadness and depression, or I can choose to fully embrace this season of life that I'm in and push forward and just go with the flow and see what happens. And the minute that I decided to just kind of like go with the flow and relearn myself and refigure out who I was in that season of my life, I was able to become happier. I was able to start enjoying my pregnancy. I was able to start planning a future with Ace. I was able to start picturing what my life would be like as a mom, and things started to become happier and lighter. And I was so grateful for that. But it all started with me making the decision to not focus on the things that I could not change. So just get into your head. Like, I might understand, I might have a great understanding of who I am now and what I want to be and what my values are and my morals and all of this stuff. But just know that there's going to be a season of life, or there's going to be something that life throws at you that's going to make you have to refigure all of that out. And you need to embrace that change because it's the only way that you're going to get through it without like completely going crazy. Next thing that I have is, you can have plans for your life, but don't get caught up in the absolutes. Like I said, for me, I had this very clear vision of like who I was, what I was going to do, where I was going to move to, the life I was going to live. Like, I had it all planned out. I was moving to Dallas. I was going to do social media full time. I was going to do this, this, and this. Like, I just had this whole future life planned out for me that I was like so looking forward to. And all of that just completely like crashed and burned in a matter of months. Like, literally from April to July, April, May, June. That's 3 months. I had 3 months of just like this optimism and like picturing this life that I was going to have. And then boom, it all came crashing down. And I was so caught up on my plans, my plans, my plans. Like, what am I going to do about this? I was planning on doing this. And that was the one thing that I kept telling Justin. Like, when I found out that I was pregnant, I was like, I just had these big plans for my life. And I had this like route that I was going to take, and I wanted to have this independence, and I wanted to grow and be by myself and do all these things. And I kept telling him that, and he would just always tell me, like, do you think your plans are greater than God's plans for your life? Like, yeah, you can have an idea of what you want to do. You can picture yourself doing certain things, but at the end of the day, like, there are some things that are just completely out of your control. Or I take that back, actually. Everything, honestly, is in your control. You are the person making all the decisions. It's based off of your decisions that you make, what's going to happen after the fact. Obviously, me and Justin had unprotected sex. What followed after that? An unplanned pregnancy. Okay. Like I had full control in that moment before I got pregnant to be like, wait, I don't want to do this, or no, we need to use protection. Like I could have made so many different choices in that moment, but like I didn't, obviously. So in that moment, I did not realize how big of an effect that one tiny moment would have on the rest of my life. And that is just with honestly any small decision. You know, they talk about the butterfly effect, how one small little thing could have been different and the rest of your life could have been different. But it's all based on decisions that you make, but you don't know what those decisions are going to result in until you actually make them. Hence, going back to like, you're just scared to make these decisions because you don't know what these decisions are going to result in. It could result in the best thing that's ever happened in your life, or it could result in you going through a season of time where you're going through the worst part of your life. You know, like you never know. But that's why I said like you can have plans for your life, but don't get caught up in the absolutes, because it is good to like have a plan for your life, and it is good to, you know, figure out decisions that you need to make in order to get to where you need to be. But at the end of the day, there's always going to be decisions that you did not plan for. There's always going to be like factors in the equation that like we missed, you know? So you might have this end result that you're wishing for, but it might look a little bit different to get there than what you are imagining. Because for me, I'm like, I want to be independent. I want to move out of my sister's house. I want to create a new life for myself, essentially. And yeah, I did that. I'm doing that. It's not what I thought that it would look like, but it is what I'm doing, regardless of like how I got here. I had to realize like being caught up in the absolutes of how I thought my life was going to go, it was not healthy for me, because when things didn't happen exactly the way that I wanted them to happen, I was I was upset. I was mad. I'm like, what is going on? So, anyways, I say all that to say life is going to throw you curveballs. Life is going to be unexpected, and things are going to happen that you probably did not plan for. Next one. Your family will always be there for you even when you mess up. Boy, oh boy, did I learn that this past year. I remember when I told my mom and my sister that I had cheated on my ex, and I so just thought that they would like judge me and fire me up and ridicule me and judge me, but they didn't. They sat there and they hugged me while I cried. They told me that it was okay. And not necessarily okay, like, oh, it's okay that you cheated on him, but more so like it's going to be okay. Like everything is going to work out in the end. Don't get me wrong. They definitely told me about myself, but they comforted me and they consoled me and they did not judge me. They allowed me to make my mistakes. They allowed me to mess up, and they were just there to catch me when I fell. And that's just how my family is all the time. Like, it doesn't matter what any one of us do at the end of the day. Like, we're going to be there for each other and we're going to ride for each other, whether we were right or we're wrong. Obviously, I was very wrong, but my family is always going to be on my side, and my family knows my character. They know who I am. And just being able to have them to fall back on when, you know, you don't have friends or you do have people looking at you negatively, like you can always go back to your family and have them reassure you of who you know that you are. When you make a mistake, the last thing that you want is for somebody like pointing out every bad thing you did or how bad of a person you are, or whatever the case may be. Like when you come to someone and you tell them like, oh, I did something that I probably shouldn't have done, like you don't want to be judged, you don't want to be ridiculed, you don't want to be scolded or lectured. You just want them to comfort you, encourage you, remind you of who you are. And that's what my family did and does for me all the time. Moving on. Things happen in your life that may cause you to slow down, but that doesn't mean give up. I feel like I keep talking about cheating and being pregnant so much, but those are truly like the two things that really shaped the my year of life, like my past year of life. But for me, like getting pregnant, immediately I was like, I'm not going to be able to model. I'm not going to be able to do photo shoots or continue working with the brands that I'm working with because, like, what if they don't want me to be pregnant? Like, I had all of these things running through my mind about how being pregnant and having Ace was going to stop me from doing the things that I wanted to do. And looking back, I'm like, girl, you were being so dramatic. But that's just genuinely how I felt. And yeah, being pregnant, like, it does cause you to slow down your life for a little bit. Like, you're carrying a human inside of you. Like, you have to slow down. You're not going to be able to do the same things that you were doing, but that doesn't mean that you have to give up on your dreams. That doesn't mean that you have to stop going after what you want completely just because, like, this one thing happened to you. So for me, it was again just kind of like accepting that phase of my life and being like, okay, I'm carrying a child right now and like my body is going to change right now, but one day I'm going to have my body back. One day I'm going to be able to take new digitals and submit them to an agency and get signed and work on a campaign again. Like, it didn't mean that I had to completely stop and give up on the things that I wanted out of life because I do still want to model. I do still want to, like, be signed to an agency in LA and Miami and anywhere else that I want. I want to still want to be able to travel and to work with brands and to do all of these things. And I could not do that at that moment in time because I was pregnant, but that didn't mean that I would never be able to do them ever again. So life happens in seasons, and sometimes you're in a season where you're able to just like go, go, go and do all the most amazing and incredible things that you want in your life. And then other times you're in a season of life where you have to slow down or you have to put things to the side for a second or you can't really pursue that right now. And even though it is discouraging in those moments because, like, that's what you probably want to be doing. As long as you realize you don't necessarily have to stop forever, you just have to stop right now, then it'll be a little bit more easier, I guess, to kind of let go in whatever season of life is causing you to let go, but knowing that like eventually you'll be able to pick it back up again. And that's kind of what's been pushing me and like what I've been optimistic about is that like I am now getting into the season of life where I can start doing these things again, where I can like start picking up where I left off. And it's exciting and I'm very optimistic about like my future again, and I feel very much like things can only move forward from here. Even now in this like newborn phase season of life where like I'm up all throughout the night and I have to pump and I have to like worry about doing all of this stuff for Ace. Like, I know that this is another season of life where, okay, yeah, I have to slow down a little bit. I have to not do so many things right now. I have to catch up on sleep. I have like other priorities. But eventually, once I'm out of this season of life, like I can be go, go, go again. Ace is going to keep growing up and he's going to keep becoming more independent and not going to rely on me so much. And that is going to open up more time for me to be able to create again, to model again, to do the things that I want to do again, things that fuel my creativity and my passion and my interests. And that's what I'm excited for, and that's what I have to look forward to. So just because I was in this season of life where like I had to slow down and I had to put things on the back burner, I can still have future seasons of life where I don't have to do that. And that's what you have to remember. If you're in a season of life where it's causing you to like slow down and just kind of like cruise through for the moment, just know eventually you'll be able to pick it back up again and it'll be all good. Okay, next thing I have is sometimes just saying yes can turn into the best experiences. This is how I met the love of my life, Justin. No, but really, like, after I had gotten out of my relationship, I told myself that, like, I just want to say yes to every single opportunity. So, whether that was like modeling, whether that was like going out with friends, whether that was like going on a date, I don't know. Like, I was just in my yes season, and it was fun, being able to just say yes to whatever I wanted to, not being constricted to have to check in with somebody like, oh, do I need to make sure this is okay? Like just being able to go freely and do whatever it is that you want to do and just say yes to whatever you want to say yes to. Like, it is so exciting and you never know what could come from it. I met Justin because I said yes to going to a friend's birthday outing. And imagine if I would have never went to that birthday outing. Where would I be? I don't know. But yeah, you can't be afraid to say yes. You can't be afraid to try new experiences. Again, step out of that comfort zone, step out of that box, and just be willing to experience all the things that life has to offer because life is beautiful and we should all just try and like live it to the fullest. Okay, I'm coming up on my last few things that I have written down. The next one is feelings can coexist at the same time no matter how opposite they are. So this is just me basically saying like two things can be true at the same time. Like you could be so in love with someone and still know at the end of the day that like the relationship is not going to work. You could be so excited about like moving and getting a new job but still be scared and unsure about how everything's going to work out, you know? Like it is okay and it's normal to have multiple feelings that coexist at the same time, but I think because we try and rationalize everything, we force ourselves to only feel one emotion, or we try and make ourselves, you know, like feel only one emotion because we don't understand how we can feel both things at the same time. Like I don't know how I can be happy and sad at the same time. I don't know how I can be optimistic and scared at the same time. But that's just I don't that's just how humans operate. Like we have these feelings and we have to be able to feel these feelings. And if you are constantly trying to push one feeling away in order to rationalize the other, like you're never going to be able to fully like control or understand your emotions. So for me, being able to realize that like I can feel X and Y at the same time allowed me to just kind of understand myself better and understand situations better and then like make better decisions. For example, like I love coaching volleyball, absolutely love coaching volleyball, but I was also starting to be so drained by it that like I had to step away. So even though I loved coaching this sport and I loved being around my girls and I loved everything that came with it, at the same time it was draining me so much and stressing me out so much that like there were some days where I was too tired or like I couldn't even function. So for me being able to realize like I love this sport so much, but I have to walk away because it's draining me at the same time right now. Like I was able to be able to realize that and actually walk away. To whereas if I would have just focused on I love volleyball so much, I would have been pushing myself to stay in a job that was physically and mentally draining me every single day and I would still be miserable right now. And that's not to say that like volleyball makes me miserable. It was just a season of my time of my life where I'm like I have so much going on. I'm pregnant and I have this and I have that going on. Like I just could not do it at the same. I couldn't do both at the same time. So being able to step away, and I keep talking about seasons of life, but literally being able to step away in this season of my life has been so good for my mental health, and I haven't been stressed. I haven't been worried. I still love the sport of volleyball and I'm still going to coach one day. But right now in this season of my life, I'm like, I had to step away and I'm so glad that I did. But I would have never been able to do that if I didn't identify like both feelings at the same time. Because if I would have just focused on I love volleyball so much, I feel like I would feel so guilty about walking away just because I'm like I've helped so many girls and I've coached so many girls and so many people like didn't want to see me go. But again, at the same time, like it was what I had to do for myself. So in order for me to like not feel guilty about walking away, I had to be like, look, this is the truth. Like, I'm drained right now. I can't deal with this in this season of my life right now. And so, for me, understanding that I have multiple feelings that coexist at the same time, it allows me to understand myself better. It allows me to understand and make better decisions. And I just, all around feel better because I know and I realize that like all of these feelings can exist and all of these feelings are true at the same time. I don't know if that made any sense, but basically, I'm just saying two things can be true at the same time. And in order for you to make sound, solid decisions, and in order for you to live a guilt free life, like you have to understand both of these things can be true at the same time. Like, if you're in a relationship with someone and you love them, but you know at the end of the day, like you're not happy, you don't have to stay just because you love them. And for me, like going back to my ex, that was what kept me in it for so long. Was it was like I love him so much, but I also like am not happy. But I stayed because I didn't want to feel guilty about leaving him because I was unhappy, even though like I knew that I loved him. It's confusing. It's a lot, but I'm just saying all that to say like you don't have to stay in certain situations just because of a positive feeling that you have towards it, even though it's resulting in something negative. I don't know if I made any sense just now, but we're going to move on to the last thing that I have written down, which is to stop caring about how other people are viewing your life. This one and the first one, probably the top two biggest things that I learned this past year. Going back to me finding out that I was pregnant, I was so concerned with how people were going to view me. Oh my gosh, she just got out of a 7-year relationship and she just got with that guy and they've only been dating for 2 months and now she's pregnant and oh my gosh, they're moving in together. Like, the narrative that you can come up in your mind of what people are saying about you. It's not good and it's not healthy, and it caused me so much distress and just like sadness because I kept caring about how other people were going to view my life. Like what they say or think or feel has a direct impact on me when in actuality it doesn't at all. The only thing that matters is how you view yourself and how you view your life. It doesn't matter what decisions you're making in your life. You could be making the worst decisions in the world, okay? Like you could literally be out here doing drugs every day and living on the street and I don't know, doing whatever, right? But if you're happy and if that's how you want to live your life, then what is my little old opinion gonna matter, you know? So for me, it was understanding that like I don't have to care about what other people might think about me. And that was the thing, is that I didn't even know what people were thinking about me, but I was making up scenarios and thoughts in my mind of what people were saying about me or thinking about me or how they were viewing my life. And that is just completely unhealthy and irrational because it's not true. Like you don't know what is true or not true because you're not even asking people what they think about you. You're just taking a guess on like how people are viewing your life, and that's just not healthy. But I had to get to a place where I'm like, I'm fulfilled in my life. I'm happy with my life. I'm happy with Justin. I'm happy about this upcoming baby. I'm happy about moving in with him. And then once you're happy and you're sound in your decisions that you're making, nothing of what anybody else says matters anymore because you tune it out or you don't even care to know what their opinion is on the matter because it doesn't matter anyway. At the end of the day, it's your life and you're the person that has to live it, and nobody else has a say or has control over what you do at the end of the day. As long as you good, everybody else don't have no choice but to be good too. And it just took me a little while to learn that because again, like I was so worried about being judged and ridiculed and just like talked about and being viewed as the bad guy. But at the end of the day, like it does not matter because they are not living your life for you. You're the only person living your life. And as long as you're happy with how you're doing life, it doesn't matter what anybody else has to say about the matter. It doesn't matter what anybody else views about you because you're confident enough in the decisions that you're making and they make you happy. So, yeah, those were like some of the top things that I learned from this past year and just kind of like reflecting on different moments that happened. 26 was a lot. 26 was unexpected. 26 was crazy and beautiful and life changing. Um, I learned a lot about myself. Oh my, why am I getting emotional right at the end? Like, no, Mariah. I did. I learned a lot about myself. I had a lot of new experiences. I became a better version of myself. I became a mom. Like, it's just so like there's so many things that can change in the matter of a year. And I remember like turning 26, I was like, I'm entering into a new era. And like I had no idea what was in store for me, but I just knew that like something different and something big was going to happen this year. And like, oh boy, was that ever, you know? But even though this past year was like so crazy and more than anything that I could have ever imagined or expected. I'm happy and I'm grateful. Jesus, Mariah, stop it. I am. I really am. Because I just feel like I went through so much and I had like so many negative thoughts and feelings and emotions towards things that were happening in my life. And just to see where I'm at now and how I've like come out of so many dark moments from this past year. It's just like I feel like I can do anything. Like I feel like I'm so prepared for whatever 27 is going to bring me, good and bad, you know? I am now like 100% sure that I can make it through anything, that I can do anything, and that everything is always going to work out for my good. You know, I always thought that like, yeah, things work together for my good, blah blah blah. Like I always knew that, but now like I really really know that. You know, coming from a place of leaving my comfort zone of the only person that I had like ever known romantically, walking through the process of forgiving myself for bad things that I've done, for guilt that I felt, opening my heart up to someone new, and it being one of the most beautiful experiences ever, to finding out that I was expecting a baby in the middle of the year, to battling with thoughts of abortion, to feeling like my life was over, to just trying to make it through the day. Like I went through so much this past year and I felt so many different emotions, and I made it out on the other side of all of it. And I'm stronger because of it, and I'm a better person because of it, and I'm the best version of myself because of it. And now I'm a mom and I get to share all of these life lessons that I've learned throughout the years with my son. And that's honestly just like the best feeling. So, anyways, I'm done. I don't want to cry anymore. I'm grateful for 26. I'm excited for 27. And I'm ready for whatever is next. I'm grateful for you all for coming on the journey with me. I feel like I just live my life in front of you and make mistakes in front of you and just share my experiences with you, and y'all are just there for literally every single step of the way. And I'm just grateful that you guys are with me on the journey, that you guys care about what I have to say, that we're pretty much in this together. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I don't even know if anything in this episode made sense, honestly. I feel like I stopped so much to just try and like get my thoughts together, but I don't know. I guess sometimes senseless thoughts are the best thoughts. I don't know. Anyways, thanks for listening to me ramble and go on and on and on about I don't even know what. But I love you guys so much. I hope you have a great Monday, a great week, and I will talk to you guys in my next episode. Bye.